Hello chess friends and welcome to your Out of Chess channel and welcome to an amazing tournament that started today. Welcome to the Tata Steel Masters in 2023. So this is now a brilliant chess event. It's a one round robin played by 14 top grandmasters, masters, and the cool part about this chess event I think is that we'll see really the best chess prodigies of the world. First of all, Arjun Erigaisi is here, Praggnanandhaa is here, Vincent Keymer is here, Gukesh is here, and also Nodirbek Abdusattorov is here. So we'll see great clashes of youth, but also for Magnus Carlsen, of course, here, who is defending now his title from the last year. But also what I really liked about this chess event is Ding Liren is playing, because I think everyone is waiting to see maybe the clash between Ding and Magnus, because Magnus, of course, refused to defend his World Championship title now in 2023, and of course Ding is now playing for the title. So I really am curious to see where is Ding compared to Magnus Carlsen. Is he really the one? Can he be maybe even the best player in the world? So this tournament I think will show where is really Ding compared to Magnus Carlsen, and can maybe Ding become the next world champion in chess. So okay, let's start now the day one with an incredible game between Gukesh and Ding Liren. I think this game had everything. First of all, great opening theory, great tactics, and great middle game strategy. So all of the elements that we love to see in the game. So we're starting now the day one with this beautiful tactical battle. So okay, when it comes to this format, we have to say the players have really enough time to play. They have for 100 minutes for the first 40 moves, then they have 50 minutes for the next 20 moves, and then they get still after this time pressure if they get an extra 15 minutes on the clock. So I think they have enough time to calculate everything, and they have always this increment per move, 30 seconds per move. So as I said, sometimes the games can even last for 5, 6, even 7 hours. We have seen in the past really long games in the Tata Steel Masters. So let's start now the day one. As I said, Gukesh versus Ding Liren. Be prepared. This is really a beautiful chess game. So here Gukesh opened with the move d4. Ding's response was the move knight to f6, c4, and after e6 we of course power playing here from black's perspective maybe the nimzo after move knight to c3. So that's why many times now these days knight to f3 is playing this anti-nimzo or counter nimzo Indian setup. So now comes b6, which becomes of course the queen's Indian defense, and the main goal of the queen's Indian is of course if you play knight to c3, then you get bishop to b4, and we are again in similar ideas of the nimzo Indian. It's not the nimzo Indian, but I think the same tactical motifs and the main strategies remain like in the nimzo Indian. And then of course if the knight comes on c3, we pin the knight, and then we have a great control of the e4 square from black's perspective. So that's why still white does this idea. It's I think one of the most popular ways to proceed here from white's perspective. G3, playing bishop to g2, and of course competing here on this long diagonal against the bishop on b7. Now comes this idea, bishop to a6, attacking now the pawn on c4. We have now the move b3, and now after bishop to b4, bishop to d2, and bishop to e7. It may seem strange to you that black is playing this maneuver, plays once with the bishop, retreats with the bishop on e7. Actually, it's nothing spectacular what's going on here, because still white will need an extra tempo in order to improve the bishop's activity. So still the bishop has to come to f4, g5, c3, and maybe then afterwards. So still white loses another tempo in order to improve the activity of the bishop. So here bishop to g2 hits of course indirectly the rook on a8, maybe not directly immediately, but the rook is of course immediately endangered here by black. So in the continuation, kingside castling also by Gukesh, and now d5 by Ding, hitting the center, of course trying to keep here this long diagonal locked. And now comes what is in my opinion already tricky line that Gukesh played here. I have to say it like this, maybe I'll be a little bit rude. I simply don't like these lines because knight to c3 it's of course good, but many times you see now in the continuation of the game you have problems where to go with your dark square bishop. I myself, for instance, I like to play this line, knight to e5 liberates immediately the long diagonal for the light square bishop, and this move knight to e5 prevents this move knight to d7 immediately, because if that happens you get this immediately knight to c6 fork against the queen and the bishop, and you get rid of the bishop bishop, and then you're continuing the game with a beautiful bishop pair. So if, for instance, bishop to c6 happens, if you prevent this idea, then we can go bishop to c3, and I like more my bishop on this particular square than I like it here on this diagonal, because many times you have to make a reaction after knight to h5 or similar stuff, or h6. You have to make a reaction with the bishop. Now the bishop is perfectly fine. We'll play knight to d2, and then we hit the center with the move e4, and that's one of the most important goals of the Queen's Indian from White's perspective. Knight to d2, rook to e1, and then we hit the pawn on e4. We are opening the center. The knight is protecting the c4 pawn. If, of course, d takes c4 happens, then we have also this opportunity to open the long diagonal. So it's, I think, a much more flexible setup here from White's perspective. But you see, Gukesh plays knight to c3. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm not saying this is losing because you're playing knight to c3. But you see now in the next couple of moves the complications of the bishop on d2. So here the continuation c6. So again, the same position. Now bishop to f4. So you see, Gukesh is trying to search for good opportunities for the bishop. Now after knight from b2 d7, notice with knight to h5 motifs, we can even challenge further the bishop on f4. So that's why I like more always the bishop to have it here on this diagonal. So we have now c takes d5 by Gukesh. We have e takes d5, and now maybe a3 was the correct choice. Maybe to stop this idea, bishop to b4 and then knight to e4 could be very dangerous. So that's why a3 maybe a good move, or rook to e1 with the preparation to hit the center with the move e4. That's also, I think, a common idea again here from White's perspective, but you have to play a3 first in order to not get pinned here by the bishop on b4. So here in the continuation, instead of any of these ideas, Gukesh played a passive move, knight to e1, and this move, okay, it makes sense. You want to reroute the knight to d3, you want to have a great control further maybe on the queen side, but it's kind of a loss of a tempo, because you see now what Ding is doing. Ding plays now this opening really in the correct way. He plays first of all the move rook to e8. After knight to d3, we have now knight to f8, bishop to g5, and you see now with the move knight to e6, again, I don't like this position of the dark square bishop. The dark square bishop has to make now a reaction. If you play bishop to d2, it's simply too passive. If you play bishop to f4, it will be taken. If you play bishop to c1, again, it's on a passive square. So now with this tiny little maneuvers of the knight, actually Ding is challenging now the dark square bishop, and Gukesh decides now to go with bishop to f6, bishop to f6, and notice now this is a good game finally for black. Here I think black should be slightly better, especially because of the fact that it's an open battle. We have the bishop pair really like a crossroad here, hitting all over the board. The rook is coming into the game through the square c8. The d4 pawn is weak. Many now already positional problems in White's camp. So as I said, it's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that you lose the game immediately because you have this position, but I feel a really bit unpleasant already here for White. So here Gukesh has to play now the move e3, which is of course fixing the pawn in d4, and now a stunning move by Ding, knight to c5 is of course opening the position immediately. Notice the knight is pinned here, so that's why you have to accept now this particular line with d takes c5. Here Ding takes out the knight on c3 after rook to c1, queen to f6, and look at this. Ding has finished the development. Ding has connected the rooks. Ding has an active bishop here on c3, has this bishop on a6 as really active, and he will connect these three pawns, which are really mobile. In the next couple of moves, these pawns will start to roll. So from this point on, as I said, already an unpleasant game for Gukesh, although the computer evaluation is about equal. But as I said, you can be the judge of this position. I would really not love to play really this position for White. So queen to c2 attacks the bishop, and now a beautiful new move here by Ding. d4 fixes basically everything. We have now c takes b6, a takes b6, and now after rook from f to d1, we have a rook to d8. Now Ding is getting all of his pieces on the best course. He still has this beautiful bishop pair, and he's trying now at least to make this happen. c5, connecting everything, and then he would have a perfect setup. So in the continuation, we have now e takes d4, bishop to d4, and you see now there is also the tension around the square f2. That's, I think, also something that bothers you. Bishop to d3 maybe is a threat, queen takes f2, and similar stuff. Again, nothing spectacular, but White's pieces are a little bit overloaded, always to the defense of the king, always to the defense of the center. And actually, this is already the critical moment of the game, because The problem is now you cannot pick up the pawn on c6 with the queen. That's, I think, losing here immediately, because bishop to d3 is going to happen. Now after queen to f6, look at this, after bishop to f6, we are liberating now the d file, and the bishop gets connected to the rook, so it's game over. So what you could do is, of course, to play here rook to d3, but this is again not working because of queen to f2, king to h1, rook to e1, and it leads into a forced checkmate sequence. So you see, this is not working. So let's go back. After move bishop to d4, actually the only way maybe to make something out of this position is to play a wild line with bishop to c6. Actually, what you should do here from White's perspective is allow this sequence with rook to c8. After rook to c8, now, after rook to c8, we can play now knight to f4, and probably black would go with this line, bishop to b5, but actually this is, I think, leading into a drawish tactical sequence, and maybe Gukesh should have gone into this particular line, because now actually the correct move would have been bishop to e8 after rook takes c2, rook takes c2, bishop to e8, but now we can pin again the bishop on e8. The king has to come closer to the defense, and now we use the attack on the e file. You have to, of course, play bishop to e5 in order to lock the e file, but now this stunner is coming. Rook to e8, king takes d8, and now knight to d3 is winning back the bishop on e5. And actually what you should then do from White's perspective is build to sort of a fortress, maybe play something like rook to e3, then to play the move a4, and you would connect maybe your pawn to the rook here on b3, so everything would be glued together, everything would be compact. So here the strategic concept of the fortress would lead probably into a drawish line. That was, as I said, maybe here Gukesh's only choice to force a drawish position. But after move bishop to d4, he plays now his maybe even first big mistake in the game, knight to f4, is locking, of course, so far the f file, but this knight will not stay there forever, because now from this point on the game is a one-way ticket here. Ding hits the knight with g5 immediately, and the problem is now, again, you don't have good squares for the knight. Knight to d3 is losing immediately, because you get this one, bishop to d3, here rook to d3. You don't want to get, of course, with the queen in front of the rook, but now again queen takes f2 leads into complications. Queen to f2, rook, bishop to f2, king to f2, and the rook is lost. So you see, you cannot step back here to d3. So that's why here the only square for the knight is the square h5, which is of course good. It comes with the tempo. Black needs to react. Good choice so far by Gukesh, but after queen to h6, again the knight is loose. So probably what Gukesh would love to do is to play maybe a sequence like queen to f5, maybe even sacrifice the rook for the bishop, and then to get maybe the knight on f6. That's a tactical idea, but you see now how Ding is playing the game. He's not allowing here Gukesh to breathe. Here Ding is playing really the perfect moves, because after bishop to f3, Gukesh protects the knight. We have now c5, fixing everything now. So you see, everything is glued together, everything is compact in black's position. Now after move g4, which made sense, as I said, our main goal is queen to f5, rook takes d4, maybe knight to f6, the only way. But now comes the stunner here by Ding again, f5, and this is the move that I like the most in the game. This is such a brilliant move. This is amazing what here the Ding is doing, because actually you cannot take out the pawn with any of your pieces. Queen to f5 leads into a disaster. After bishop to c8, you have to now step back, and look at this. With rook to f8, the bishop is hanging. If you step back with the bishop, then the f2 is destroyed here. So if you play g takes f5, if you take this pawn with the pawn, then g4, and after bishop to g4, look at this, queen to c6 is coming into the game. With bishop to b7, we're building a battery, and now I think you have to play ideas of knight to g3, covering at least the h1 square. Look at this, after bishop to b7, you play maybe bishop to h3, but now you're getting destroyed with such a calm move. As I said, this wasn't played in the game, but I wanted to show you what is really the main opportunity here for black. Now I play just a calm move, king to h8 to get out of the attack, play rook to g8, hit even the knight on g3 maybe, and then deliver even checkmate maybe on h1. So it's really such a brutal move, this move f5 that Ding played. Really amazing stuff. Gukesh realized, of course, his tactical problems, but he lost too much time while he was calculating these positions. After knight to g3, here Ding takes, f takes g4, knight to f5 comes again with the threat against the queen, queen to f6. Okay, Gukesh had some activities, had some fun with his knight, but actually it's nothing spectacular. The Ding is regrouping here, and again Gukesh lost too much time, and we are now in move 28, where Gukesh was already about, I don't know, 2 minutes on the clock, so he had to calculate this position in a fast way. So that's, I think, also his main issue here. He forced really some tactical sequences here. He didn't find the best continuations. Here the continuation, he played bishop to e4. He's trying maybe to regroup. He's trying to keep his pieces compact. Maybe even, I don't know, knight to d4 leads into simplified line. At least you're getting rid of this annoying dark square bishop on d4, but still this should be much better, especially of the fact because of the fact that we have here a 3 versus 2 pawn majority. So even if this game reaches the endgame stage, even if white somehow defends every tactical threat of blacks, still it's a favorable endgame for black. We should also consider this, as I said, your defense is not only to defend every tactical solution here, so your defense has to be also somehow to grab maybe one of these pawns. So here the continuation, as we said, bishop to e4 was played by Gukesh, but now again a beautiful move here by Ding h5. Although queen to e5 is also an opportunity hitting the bishop, but then I think the game would be maybe simplified again with this idea, knight to d4, queen to e4 and similar stuff. So as I said, okay, this is probably much better for black, especially also because of the light square weaknesses, especially also because of the pawn majority on the king side, but at least the game is not so tactical. At least it's not so complicated to play. But okay, after bishop to e4 that Gukesh played h5 by Ding, we have now b4, trying of course to deflect the pawn from the defense of the bishop. Now king to f8 here by Ding, and after move h4, this was again a new mistake here by Gukesh. h4 is simply too passive. h4 pardon me, a4 here, the move a3 is simply too passive. You have to play a4 here. You have to lock the bishop somehow with the move b5. That was the only way. After something like c takes b4, knight to d4, rook to d4, again rook to d4, okay, queen to d4 again. Black should be slightly better, nothing spectacular, but okay, maybe this was the way to go, because if you don't react to this move, if you continue here to push, then b5 would actually lock the bishop. That was the only chance maybe here for Gukesh to somehow stop this annoying, really this monstrous bishop pair that Ding created. So after move h4 that Ding played, after move a3, basically the game is over. You don't have any more time to play a4, similar stuff. You don't have time to lock the bishop, and also the g3 move is coming. g3 is now huge threat, because this bishop is really unpleasant. In the continuation, we have rook to e1, and now comes a new stunner of the game. Here Ding found a monstrous tactical shot. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the best continuation. Here again Gukesh was about 1 minute on the clock, and we are now in move 32. So 8 moves Gukesh should have played in order to get some extra time on the clock, but it was simply too tactical, the position. So after move rook to e1, Ding found a beautiful shot. Maybe you can see now the best continuation, which is even winning immediately here for, and Ding saw that. Okay, the winning move here is a brilliant idea. Rook takes e4, sacrificing the rook for the exchange. After here queen to e4, we have this stunner, bishop to d3, deflecting the queen towards the d5. If you play queen to takes d3, then of course bishop to f2, king to f2, you pick up the queen. But that was not only this point, the knight is also hanging, so you will lose the knight also in the next move, so it's game over. So after move bishop to d3, here Gukesh tried to simplify the game with queen to e6. After queen to e6, rook takes e6, and bishop to f5, the knight is lost. Here Gukesh took the pawn on b6, but now this tactical idea is simply unstoppable. g3 opens the position here in front of white's king. After h takes g3, h takes g3, now here Gukesh tried b takes c5, but now after bishop to h3 in this position, Gukesh resigned. There's simply too much tension around the square f2. You cannot cover. Also with rook to f1, f1 is going to happen. This rook will be included into the attack, so from this point on it's game over. As I said, Gukesh resigns. So incredible game by Ding Liren. First of all, he played an outstanding opening theory here, brilliant Queen's Indian defense, and brilliant choice then to go into this tactical maneuvers, to go into this tactical battles. He found really great tactical solutions. He found this tactical shot in the end. Really great performance by Ding, and he's now, after the day one of the favorites to win the whole thing, probably because Magnus I'll say only because we always expect Magnus to do something special. Magnus only played a draw with the white pieces against Levon Aronian. It's not such a bad result, but as I said, so far Ding is taking over in this beautiful chess event because now he won his game with the black pieces. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Queen's Indian for sure. I think there's many of there's some really beautiful material that you could use in your own games, because this is brilliant what Ding was doing here. If you want to see more commented chess games here on my YouTube chess channel, check out our series. Here's the link of our playlist. You can check out some other great games that we have covered in other tournaments. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.